Now, here's the host of Good as Gold, Nick Grovich.
Hi, you've got Don Gause today sitting in for Nick. I've been working with Nick for over 30 years now, and I've learned a lot from him about the coin business. If you have any questions for us, you can call the radio station at 602-324-1510 and ask on the radio, or call the office at the 800 number that we just gave you 3 or 4 times, and we can answer any questions that you have and talk to you confidentially. A couple of things just today, as we were coming into the lead-in, they were talking about how the stock market's down, and just to give you an idea what's going on in the gold, silver, and platinum market, right now gold's at $1236.40 and silver's at $1553 and platinum's at $977 an ounce. And year to date, silver and platinum are up about 12.5%, and gold's up 16.6% since December 30th close of the market last year. And the reason I bring that up is, a lot of people are sitting here looking at their stock market accounts and watching things go down. And it has, in the past, when this kind of market's going on, we've have people have a tendency to panic and do things a little too rapidly. And on top of that, it's kind of the silly season of IRAs. It's time to fund people's IRAs. So there's a lot of advertising going on aimed at IRA money right now. And I just wanted to spend a little bit of time, and may take the whole show up, to be honest with you, talking about what's going on in the IRA world. Normally, an IRA has to be stored. You buy an IRA. If you want to put gold, silver, platinum, you can. There's a way to do that. But the problem with that is most people want to have their IRA. They want to have their coins close to home in case the world falls apart. You want to be able to get at your silver and gold and platinum, whatever you have in your IRA. You want to be able to have it in your hands when things go wrong. And under the current law, you have to store your IRA with a trustee, and most of the trustees store your coins in Delaware at the Delaware Depository. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're interested in that type of an investment, we can help you. And I would urge you to call us if you're interested in that. I'd also urge you to give us a call if you have an IRA right now, because one of the things that we do for people that's a little different than most coin dealers is we don't just sell you stuff and forget about you. We try to understand what our clients have and what their goals are. And one of the things that happens in the coin business is there are times where certain types of coins get hot. Now, right now, one of the hotter parts of the coin market are, believe it or not, modern coins that have come out since 1986. Half-ounce gold eagles, there are certain dates of these things that are worth up to $2,700 for a half an ounce of gold. That's like getting $5,400 an ounce of gold. Some of the 10th-ounce coins are up to around $2,400 an ounce, about $600 for a quarter ounce of gold. Does that mean you should buy those coins? I think personally that it's a dealer-driven, and some of it's collectors, but mostly it's a dealer-driven push that's making these prices go up. And if you have those coins, and the reason most people have them is they're expecting gold to go up. They're looking at it as an insurance policy. And in the long run, if gold goes to $2,000 an ounce, there's no reason that your $2,700 half-ounce gold eagle is going to go to $5,400 or $5,000 in that environment. It's probably more likely that as the price goes up, more coins will be sold into the marketplace, and people will figure out that maybe they're not as rare as they seem to be at $1,200 gold, where most people are looking at their gold holdings and saying it's not the right time to sell. So that's one of the things we do for people is we take a good look at what you have, and we examine if it makes sense to hold it going forward, or if there's a way to get you a bigger pile of gold for your money, that type of stuff. But I digress a little bit, trying to have you help us with what you already have in an IRA. One of the things that's kind of troubling is that there's a huge push in the marketplace to have home storage IRAs. This part of the market started 7 or 8 years ago, but seems to be getting bigger and bigger because more and more people want to have their coins at home. And one of the things I want to tell you, if you have one of these things, you definitely need to contact us. If you're thinking about one of these, take a break and don't do anything. Just to give you a couple of ideas, there's a large dealer in the country that sells these things, but then I'm not sure they want you to be educated before they sell you this. So they have this checklist of, do you qualify to store your IRA at home? And you go and you look at the IRS tax laws, and here's what you have to do to qualify to have a home storage IRA, according to the IRS. First, you have to be incorporated. You have to have a limited liability company that's in your name. So you have to either pay, LegalZoom.com, probably is the cheapest way to do it, to set up an LLC that's going to be holding the coins. Now, it gets a little bit crazy at this point. The next thing you have to understand is that LLC is supposed to have a diversity of ownership. So you can't be the only owner. The ownership of the trustee corporation and the people who house the metals and manage the metals, which would be you in this new brave world of home IRA storage, you have to have several people in your management group. It can't just be one person. The next thing is these things are only available to, I guess, qualified investors. Well, what's a qualified investor? That you have to have at least $250,000 of liquid net worth. And that's after you've done all the work. So that's the next thing they don't tell you. And then the next thing on their checklist is all the employees and the trustees must have posted a $250,000 fidelity bond as corporate insurance. Well, you start to add up the expenses, all these things. Every once in a while I get somebody that's complaining that they pay $150, $200 a year for storage fees and management fees with their IRA in Delaware, and all of a sudden the 150, 250, whatever the fees are, seem pretty reasonable. The next thing on the checklist is everything has to be stored. Your LLC has to have a public location. So you have to have a business location that's open to the public. We're about to go to break. We got about a minute left, so I'm going to have more to talk about afterwards. But a public location. So you must maintain an office, somewhere with a sign on the door that people can walk in and say hello to you and understand that you're in business. Now, most of us don't do that, have a business that we maintain for ourselves. The next one's a really good one. You have to have a complete annual audit every 12 months by a certified public accountant. I don't know the last time I searched, and it might be pretty simple for an accountant to come in and certify that you have X number of ounces of gold in your LLC, but I would imagine that most public accountants aren't going to do that audit for, I don't know, less than several $1,000s, and no matter how simple it is. So you start to get into some pretty interesting things. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other requirements when we come back from the break. Give us a call at 800-992-6857. That's the office number. You can call here at 602-324-1510 if you have any questions. That's about it for now.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
Hi, you've got Don Gause filling in for Nick today. We're talking about home storage IRAs right now. I'm trying to keep people out of trouble at this point. Some of the other requirements, we were just talking about having a complete annual audit by a CPA every year. The next thing, you're supposed to be able to demonstrate that you have verifiable reputable financial background. I'm not quite sure what that means. Are you a CPA, a tax attorney? Do you have a license to trade stocks? I'm not sure what that means, a certified financial but these are all things that somebody, even the most honest person in the world, somebody could have a problem with. Next thing is the fitness to handle funds, kind of the same thing, but you have to prove that you have experience and competence in handling retirement funds. And the last requirement is you have to maintain legal counsel on retainer. So you have to basically have a lawyer that's ready to answer any questions and just ready to go to work for you if anything comes up. The reason I bring this up is just most people that want to invest in hard assets want their hard assets close to home, and most dealers understand that the average person has quite a bit more money in an IRA than they have in money to invest outside their retirement funds. So you've had a lot of people going after your IRA money, and it can be really dangerous. Where you can get in trouble with this stuff is, I'm not 100% sure the IRS has really even picked up on this yet, but at some point if you're transferring money from an IRA to a different IRA, your IRA company has to report that transfer to the IRS, and at some point their computers are going to kick out some kind of an exception report that says, hey, this is a strange thing that's happening. Maybe we need to send some people to take a look at it. So what can happen to you if they decide that you are not in compliance with what's going on? Well, they can decide that you just took a distribution from your IRA, and they can tax every bit of it. So you could be in the position where if you're under 59 and a half, you're going to be hit with a 10% penalty. You're going to be hit with the highest tax rate that you qualify for, and if you're moving around a couple $100,000, you're probably all the way up in whatever the highest tax bracket is, 35 or 40%, whatever we're at nowadays, and you're going to get hit with penalties and interest on top of that. So it could just ruin your retirement if you're not careful, and if you're taking information from the wrong people and not really taking a good long look at everything. The IRS really doesn't have much of a sense of humor when they get involved in these things, and I don't know how far, what they'll do to help you or how they'll work with you on this stuff. One of the things when they set up all this stuff, for whatever it's worth, and a lot of people have a lot of conspiracy theories that they want to take your retirement money away at some point, and that's why people want home storage. But they set up all these IRA and retirement rules that there would be a trustee involved in everything. The biggest reason they have the trustee involved is that guy's on the hook to report when you take your distributions and to tell the IRS about it so they can collect their taxes. So they don't take this stuff lying down. Couple of the things that you should also know is the guys that are selling you home IRAs, most of those guys, they're not gonna be there for you when it's time to go to court or when the IRS comes calling. And there's a lot of coin dealers out there that have been in business for very short periods of time this is their bread and butter. This is what they're all about, and they're very aggressive salesmen, and they're very good salesmen. I always like I've working with Nick for all these years. We sort of deal in a level of honesty that is refreshing, but we're not calling you 100 times a day to push you to do something. So we give you the information, and we kind of trust you to do the right thing when you're ready. And I know I'm a little naive, because sometimes people need to be pushed to do things, even if it's the right thing. So they're better salesmen than I are. They'll call you 100 times to get that one sale, and I'm not sure I'm going to do that to you. I don't think I have time, because I'm dealing with all the people that are used to listening to Nick's advice and taking it, and they're a lot easier to deal with than having to talk somebody into doing something that doesn't make sense for them. So that's kind of where we're at with these IRAs. Just be really careful. It's the time of year where all of this stuff's happening. These guys, they like to sell things into these home IRAs. That's the other thing. They sell products into these home IRAs that aren't IRA approved. So you just get, since nobody's there and it's a trustee that's in the middle of this thing, so all of a sudden, wow, we can sell you, $20 Saints and $20 Libs into your home storage IRA. They're not approved for IRA. European gold, 20 franc, Swiss gold, British sovereigns, they're not approved for IRAs. You have to have, the only coin that's not pure gold that's approved for IRAs is the American Gold Eagle. So you can put Canadian maple leafs that are 3 or 4 nines fine, and you can put Chinese pandas that are 4 nines fine, but you can't put, you're not allowed to put Cougarans into an IRA. So they give you bad advice upon bad advice, and it just starts to heap up on you with where it's going. The other thing we've seen in the past, and it's when I talk about sometimes it's the right time to sell things, I would imagine that one of the reasons that we're getting these nice fat premiums on half-ounce gold eagles and quarter-ounce gold eagles is there are people out there that when I tell you that I can sell a coin into the wholesale market at $2,700, they're probably selling it to people for $3,400, and they're making they may pay a little bit more, but they're probably making $500 to $700 on that coin, and if they're putting it into your IRA as a collectible that's going to outperform the market, it generally doesn't work very well for you, because a year or two from now they'll be selling a different collectible that's going to outperform the market. And just to give you an idea, when they first made IRAs legal, a lot of dealers were putting proof gold eagles into IRAs. Well, for years and years, proof gold eagles sold for $100 premium over regular gold eagles. At one point, proof gold eagles, I was able to sell proof gold eagles into the marketplace at $2,000 an ounce when gold was around $900 an ounce. Now, that's the kind of ratio trade and the kind of opportunistic trade that we like to take advantage of when we know that you have things. And there are some things going on with proof gold eagles right now with certain dates and certain sets that are worth quite a bit extra right now that we may be able to help you with. But that's the kind of stuff that, if you had traded out of your proof gold eagles with us making a few dollars in the middle, you would have ended up with about 2 for every 1. So you would have had 2 ounces for every 1 ounce. Well, right now, proof gold eagles are worth $200 over spot for most of them. Some of them are worth as much as 4. And you're better off having the bigger pile of gold in the long run. So that's one of the things that our CPR does, our coin performance review does for people. That I think is pretty unique in the industry. Most people just want to sell you things. They don't ever want to buy stuff back or talk about how to improve the performance of your portfolio over the long run. So that's kind of where we're at with that, and I think we're about to go to break. So I got to keep talking for a few more minutes. I'm not very good at this. So give us a call at the office, 800-992-6857. If you have any questions, or you can call here at 602-324-1510, and we can answer any questions that you might have. Again, I just stress to people that we have a lot of information. We can be overwhelming at sometimes, but it's we try to have our client's best interest at heart, and it works. It's worked out for 30 years for Nick to have the businesses going as well as it has for that period of time, doing it that way. So that's we're going to break, and when we come back, we'll have some other stuff to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about ratio trading because it sort of fits what we were talking about on the last thing. Thank you.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
Hi, it's Don Gause sitting in for Nick today, and the music's still going, so I don't do this very often. I just wanted to talk a little bit about ratio trading, and it's one of the things that Nick's done very well for our clients over the last 30 years. And the reason I bring it up is maybe I had a little bit of an epiphany. I feel like I need to be Glenn Beck with his blackboard sitting here with you to explain this properly, but I think I'm I had a conversation with a client last week when I was on the road that I think I put it in a good enough way that it seemed to be a little bit more obvious than it's been in the past when I talk about it. And the reason I bring it up is, I mean, right now you've got some opportunities out there. What ratio trading is really is you look at the normal range that coins and the normal relationship that different metals have to each other, and you try to take advantage of times when they're kind of out of the box, when they're not trading at normal ratios. And you can look at things that are going on in the world right now. And the biggest one and the most obvious one right now is right now platinum's trading at $300 an ounce less than gold. Now, in all the time that I've worked for Nick, it's usually 35 to 40% more. And back in 2008, right at the top of the platinum market, the highest closing platinum price was back on March 4th of 2008 at $2,230. That day, gold closed at $984. So at that point, the gold platinum ratio was, I think that works out to be 2.25%. So it was 2.25 times what gold was. And the normal ratio is about 1.4 to 1. So it's usually about 1.4 times gold. So just to give you an idea, if you had 20 ounces of gold eagles right now, you could trade those into about 23 23 ounces of platinum at today's prices. And let's just say, down the road you go back to the normal 1.4 to 1 gold platinum ratio. I just threw some numbers out there. Let's say gold's at 1,400. But we're back to the normal platinum ratio. That means platinum's at about $1,960. Even if you love owning gold and have very little interest in platinum, if you're heavy on gold, you take a small portion of your portfolio and you take a little gamble with this kind of trade. But at 1.4 to 1, you can trade those 23 ounces of platinum into about 30 ounces of gold eagles. And so even if you're a gold guy with very little interest in platinum, it's just a way to sort of actively trade a portion of your account to try to increase your gold holdings over time. Just to tell you, if those 23 ounces, if you hit it on the exact day that it hit its best ratio ever, those 23 ounces of platinum would have gotten you 47 ounces of gold eagles. So, and nobody hits it at the top of the market. The one thing I'll tell you about Nick, working for him for 30 years, as the ratios start to correct into the right range, we're pretty active telling our clients what's going on, and maybe it's the right time to do it. And at 1.4, 1.5, we're probably pushing people to do a deal at that point. And the only guys that are going to get it at 2.25 are the guys that kept saying no a few times, and are lucky as can be, because that 2.25 ratio, I was looking at how fast platinum went down. Within a month and a half after that top of the market, platinum was down to $700 an ounce. And what happened, and it's very logical why it happened, platinum's an industrial metal, and if you guys recall what happened in 2008 during the summertime, basically the world almost felt like it was coming to an end. I mean, we had a meltdown in the banks, we had everything going wrong. Car sales were incredible. The banks tightened up on interest. Everybody was borrowing money to do everything, and all of a sudden nobody was going to let you borrow money for anything, and everything fell apart. So, and then again, if you're really worried about things falling apart, gold's probably the better investment than platinum, but it's not, a trade like this isn't for the faint of heart, and it's not for somebody that's not a little bit optimistic about things going right in the world. Because again, platinum's an industrial metal. If things get worse, platinum will probably get cheaper. If things go right, that ratio should correct itself. And platinum is much rarer than gold, and it's used in a lot more industrial uses than gold. So when the world starts to correct itself and go right, platinum should be one of the metals that outperforms gold, silver, maybe one of the best performing investments that you can have if things are going right. So that's kind of what goes on there. But we've been really active with that type of stuff all along. I mean, when the gold silver ratio gets a little out of whack, right now we're at 80-1. The only problem is all our silver guys have so many, literally tons of silver that it doesn't make sense to have another ton of silver necessarily. So, but we've had clients that as the gold silver ratio goes back to 40-1, they get out of all their silver and into gold, and you just keep building bigger piles and bigger piles of your your hard assets. And that's how you manage that kind of stuff to increase it. At some point, you have to take a profit, or you have to make a change in your portfolio, unless the buy and hold for my grandkids doesn't always work really well, because there's going to be times where, like this year, we have gold is on the move this year. Why is it on the move? There's a little bit of worries about currency. Every government in the country, every government in the world is trying to make their currency worth less, and in particular this year, you had the British voting on whether or not to stay in the euro. I'm sure that had a few of the currency traders very skittish. Not to mention all the Syrian refugees come flooding into Europe, and all what they're going to do with that. So whether or not those borders are going to stay open going forward, or we're going to have some kind of a issue with that, which could send people back into other currencies. There's just a lot of reasons right now that gold is coming back into favor that make total sense. But there's also, because of that, there might be some opportunities to bet on some other metals other than gold at the same time. I guess in the long run, I've always been a huge believer in diversification, because nobody's right all the time. And you sort of have to spread your money around a little bit and see what works out best for you. Now, after talking a little bit about ratio trading and the metals, there's a couple of things that I wanted to make sure everybody is aware of. One big dealer in California just was sentenced to 30 months in prison for basically, I'll just read what it says here in this article. He was basically using today's order to pay, last month's thing. He was lapping his orders, I guess is the way we used to put it. And so far it looks like they basically said he was 380 customers he owed $15 million to. And one of the things about this dealer I want to caution people is, I always wondered, I wouldn't match his prices when people would call and say they were going to buy some gold from him. That was a lot of times I'll go out of my way to match a price, and I'd say I can't afford to match his prices, because it's not right for us to cut it so close that we're not in business 10 years from now, or that if something goes wrong, that we're not able to take care of our clients in the long run. So, it's a business. We have to make enough money to make it interesting for my boss and for all the employees, and to stay in business. But one of the things about his website is he had a section in his website, how we sell bullion for less, and it said, I just quote his website, and since it's been proven wrong, I just want people to be aware that there's a lot of other people trying to follow this model, and we just don't know how long they're going to be able to keep it up. Many people have noticed that our prices are consistently lower than any of our competitors, many times substantially lower. How is this possible? Simple, less overhead and expenses. The site also goes on to explain that they keep their costs low since they don't accept credit cards. They send out and they don't send out mailings, run television or radio ads, or even have salespeople or receptionists. So they also didn't travel to coin conventions, so they didn't have any of those kind of expenses. They're basically a mail order customer, and being a mail order shop. So being a mail order shop also saved them $100,000 a year in insurance. Well, not sure how that works. We pay a lot of money for insurance. It's part of the cost of doing business. But I'm not sure how you could save $100,000 by not letting people come in his door once in a while. Basically, the attorney general that prosecuted him basically said that it was a systematic scheme to defraud customers. I'm not 100% sure that was what he set out to do. I think the guy was a nice guy. He believed his own stuff, and he didn't, he got caught up in something, and he didn't. It just fell apart on him, and it just happened. Sometimes that happens, but yeah. I'm sure that every one of his customers was in shock. They thought he was the nicest guy in the world, and it just all falls apart at some point because you have to you're in business to make money. You've got a lot of overhead, insurance, employees. Even the best run company in the world can't work on a 1% margin, which there's a couple of guys in California that advertise that they sell everything at 1%, but I know what they sell people, and I know most of what they sell to people they make 35-40% markups on, and but they advertise that they're the 1% guys, and they maybe get a couple of people to buy a few things from them at that 1%, and then they're off to the races on you once they feel like they've earned your trust with those first couple of transactions, and then they abuse your trust after that. So you just have to be really careful with everything you do. The other reason I bring up those margins is we try to be more than just a place that takes your order. We try to follow up with you. We try to keep track and keep you apprised of what's going on in the marketplace. When something's hot, we are trying very hard to let you know it's hot, and so you have a chance to take advantage of it. I've said in shows in the past that I've done, to me, the coin business is a little like a pop-up game. What's hot this month is usually not hot next month. It's sort of one thing pops up, something else pops down, and it's always moving around, and you got to have a knowledgeable person to help you out to get through everything. So I think we're going to add now. I'll probably screw this one up too, but I'm trying, and I'll see you back when we're done. Thank you.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
Hi, this is Don Gause sitting in for Nick. The last thing I wanted to talk to you today about was we're getting some counterfeit bullion bars out there, and it's a little worrisome for a couple of reasons. Number one, it seems like the Chinese are manufacturing these things, and they do a pretty wonderful job. I mean, they're almost impossible to tell the difference. Sometimes when you pick up a coin, it just doesn't feel like the right weight. These usually weigh the right amount because there's a different density between silver and copper, nickel, or whatever they're making the counterfeit out of. These coins weigh the right amount. They look exactly like the bars that are out there, and just to give you an idea, they've been finding almost, and I like bars. I don't have anything against bars normally, but just a heads up for people out there that with this stuff starting to happen now, what ends up happening is 2 or 3 years down the road, when silver goes back to $40 or $50 an ounce, you may have a hard time selling your bars into the marketplace because everyone's afraid to buy them. And what's really going on here is these bars are being made in China. They look exactly like the bars that are made, and it seems like they're hitting everybody, whether it's Northwest Territorial Mint, Silvertown, Scottsdale Silver, Engelhard bars. These are all, Engelhard, Ampmex, those are pretty reputable bars. Northwest Territorial Mint, they've been around a long time. In the old days, it seemed like they only bothered to make 10-ounce and 100-ounce bars, and you always were kind of blissfully ignorant when you were buying 1-ounce bars because you hadn't heard about any of this stuff going on. But what's happening is they're making these bars. They look very, very much like normal bars. If you're traveling around or you're in an office, they weigh the right amount. And it's just really tough to figure out what's going on. They're selling these things on Alibaba, basically the Chinese eBay, for like $1 a piece. And people are buying them in big quantities and then, walking into local coin stores and selling them, at $15 plus a bar. And poor local little businessmen are getting burnt, and eventually they won't buy them anymore. Now, how do you tell if you have a problem? Well, the bars are a dash thicker than the counterfeit ones are a dash thicker, so that they weigh the right amount, because it's a less dense metal. So if you put a little bit more, it'll weigh the right amount. But I've been in the business for a long time, and when you're going quickly, it's pretty tough to notice it. In fact, last week I was just thinking about this when we were at the break. I travel all over the country buying coins and basically doing our CPR, our coin performance review for people. And typically, most of the people I see, they got involved in coins because they like bullion. So last week I may have seen some of these counterfeits, but I didn't really think about it very much because the guy liked silver and he was going to keep them. But I was thinking to myself when I was looking at them, these are a little thicker. They look thicker than normal. And but I didn't really think anything. If he'd wanted to sell them, I probably would have bought them and gotten stuck. But I think when I get back to the office, I'm going to give him a call and ask him where he got the darn things. And again, that comes back to dealing with, competent dealers that have been around for a long time. There's a lot of good dealers. It's not just us, but you want to make sure that if somebody sells you a counterfeit coin, they're going to stand behind it and make it right for you. And you really want to make sure the guy knows enough not to sell you a counterfeit coin, that he's been doing this for a long time and he's going to take care of it. So just buyer beware. When I'm buying bars right now, I'm probably going to be walking around with a special ruler to test the thickness of this stuff, and hopefully that our trade association will be helping us with some information on what they're supposed, the dimensions of this stuff, so that we get it right. Because I'm looking at Coin World, and they've got a Northwest Territorial Mint bar, and the width and the height, they're perfect, but the thickness on the counterfeit one is 0.126 inches versus 0.083 inches. So that's a pretty tough thing to notice. And I'm not sure that I saw counterfeit ones last week, but after reading this article, it's got me kind of on edge a little bit for my clients. Again, I run into people all the time that they take some advice from us, or they take some advice from another coin dealer. They buy themselves a copy of the Red Book, and they think they're going to beat the system buying on eBay or bypassing the dealer markup. Most of the people I see like that, 99% of them get themselves in trouble really quickly, buying either off-brand coins, a lot of counterfeit coins, a lot of, and when you think about counterfeit, these are a rather new phenomenon, but I travel around with a book that has die characteristics of counterfeit $20 coins. These are all coins that were made in the 20s and 30s, and there's enough counterfeits out there that they actually have a book that shows you what to look for. So just to keep yourself out of trouble. I saw a guy in Virginia a couple of years ago that he was buying all his $20 gold coins at swap meets. And going to a swap meet on a Saturday or Sunday, and he'd see a $20 gold piece. This was when gold was a lot cheaper. So, he was a high roller, and he'd buy a gold coin for $400 when gold was $300, and he thought he was getting a heck of a deal. Well, all his gold coins are counterfeit. I mean, literally, they all were right out of the book. And I'm not that confident telling somebody their coins are counterfeit, because you can make a mistake. There could be something there. These were all counterfeit, and we did a little more work, and I was right, and it proved to be the right advice. The good news is they had some gold in them, so he actually didn't lose money on the deal. He just didn't do as well as he thought he was going to do, because when I saw him, gold was back over $1,500 an ounce. So the other side of that is I'm also looking at this week's Coin World, and they're talking about a 1913S Buffalo nickel. It's one of the key dates, and it was probably done a long time ago, but basically they took a 1913 regular nickel and they cut it in half, and they basically melded it in with the S-mint from another coin, because that makes that, theoretically a real 1913 S is a very valuable coin. So they basically, there's been counterfeit going on with key date coins for 50, 60, 70 years. So you don't know what you're buying, especially if you're buying a coin that hasn't been graded by PCGS or NGC. So you just got to be really careful about that stuff, and you need to deal with good people that are going to send you down the right course. That being said, there's also people are counterfeiting, Chinese are counterfeiting PCGS and NGC holders once in a while. So there's a lot of ways around that. A good dealer can help you stay out of trouble with all that stuff. Again, give me a call absolutely anytime. Give us a call at the office, 800-221-7694. I hope I've stressed enough how important it is to have a competent and honest coin dealer that you're working with, and instead of trying to go it on your own. And if you have an IRA right now, give us a call to discuss what you've been up to, and let's try and keep you out of trouble and fix anything else you might have done wrong. Thank you.